The bridal shop's bell chimed as I pushed open the door. The sound as bitter as the taste in my mouth. Through a forest of white silk and tulle, I spotted my sister Emma twirling in front of a three-way mirror. Our mother stood nearby, dabbing tears from her eyes. "Oh, Emma," Mom gushed. "You look absolutely perfect. The wedding dress probably cost more than most people's monthly salary." Of course it did. She was paying for it, with my money. "Sarah." Emma's face lit up with fake enthusiasm when she saw me in the mirror. "I was wondering when you'd show up. What do you think? Worth every penny, right? My name is Sarah Mitchell, and 2 weeks ago, I discovered my sister had drained my savings account of $78 to fund her dream wedding. The money I'd spent years saving for my own future, gone, through a series of unauthorized transfers while I was away on a business trip." "How could you, Emma?" I kept my voice low, aware of the other customers browsing nearby. "That was my entire savings." She turned to face me, wide-eyed and innocent. "Oh, come on, Sarah. Don't be so dramatic. I'll pay you back eventually." She smoothed the intricate beadwork on her bodice and continued. "You know how important this wedding is, to me. To all of us. Important enough to steal from your own sister?" "Steal is such an ugly word." Emma sighed, glancing at herself again in the mirror. "I prefer to think of it as borrowing. You'd have said no if I'd asked. And Jason and I need this to be perfect. You know how his family is. Jason Reynolds, Emma's fiancé and heir to the Reynolds fortune. Old money, old names, old expectations. The kind of family that would look down on our middle-class background unless the wedding screamed wealth and prestige." "Mom," I turned toward our mother, who had become extremely interested in a nearby rack of veils. "Are you really okay with this?" "Well," she hesitated. "Emma said she'll pay you back. And this wedding, it's such a great opportunity. For her, for all of us. Really. The Reynolds family has so many connections." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Then again, maybe I could. Emma had always been the favorite. The pretty one. The social butterfly who could charm her way out of anything. I was the responsible one. The one who worked hard. Saved diligently. While Emma floated from one expensive whim to another. "You're going to the police, aren't you?" Emma's voice lost its sweetness and sharpened. "That's why you're here. To threaten me." I met her gaze in the mirror. "How did you even get into my account?" She shrugged, the beads on her dress catching the light. "You really should change your passwords more often." "Sarah, using Mom's birthday? Not exactly secure." Her casual tone made my blood boil. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed with a text. Looking down, my anger gave way to something else, determination. "No, Emma," I said, slipping the phone into my pocket. "I'm not going to the police. Not yet, anyway." She raised an eyebrow, suspicious of my sudden calm. "Then why are you here?" "To let you know that I know. And to give you a chance to make this right." Emma laughed, the sound like glass breaking. "Or what? You'll tell Jason? Please. He wouldn't believe you over me. No one ever does." She was right about that. Emma had always been the better liar. The better manipulator. But what she didn't know was that I had something she didn't, proof. Not just of the theft, but of something far worse. The text I received was from Marcus, the private investigator I'd hired after I discovered the money was gone. "Got what you needed," it read. "Meeting at 2 p.m. to review findings. You have until the wedding to return my money." I said as I turned to leave. "Every cent." "Or what?" Emma called after me, her voice full of mockery. "What are you going to do, Sarah?" I paused at the door and looked back at her, standing there resplendent in her stolen dress. "You'll find out." Outside, the autumn air was cool and crisp, scented with fallen leaves. I checked my watch, just enough time to make it to Marcus's office. As I drove, I thought about how it had come to this. Emma and I had never been close. We were 3 years apart, and opposites in every way. While I worked 2 part-time jobs through college and slowly built a career in marketing, Emma bounced between expensive schools and failed ventures, always enabled by our parents. Meeting Jason Reynolds had been her golden ticket. Rich, connected, and charmed by her polished persona. He proposed after 6 months. Suddenly, Emma was planning the most extravagant wedding imaginable. Marcus's office was tucked in a modest downtown building, quiet, unremarkable, discreet, perfect for someone in his profession. When I arrived, he was waiting, a thick folder on his desk. "Mitchell," he said, gesturing for me to sit. "I think you'll find this interesting." He opened the folder and spread out documents and photos. Your sister's fiancé isn't who he claims to be. I leaned in. Jason Reynolds, it turned out, had secrets of his own, secrets that could not only end the wedding, but destroy everything Emma had built. Are you sure you want to do this? I asked, holding a particularly damning photo. Marcus nodded. It's all verified. The only question now is, what do you want to do about it? I looked down at the glossy image, then back at the pile of evidence. I want copies of everything, I said, and the plan began. That evening, I was flooded with texts from our mother, begging me to be reasonable and think about the family. I ignored every message. Instead, I focused on the folder Marcus had given me, photos, records, and evidence, building a case not just to reclaim my money but to dismantle Emma's fantasy life piece by piece. The next morning, I woke up to an email from Emma. Dear Sarah, I know you're upset, but you're being childish about this. The money is already spent, deposits paid, contracts signed, there's no going back. Once I'm married to Jason, I'll have more than enough to pay you back. Just be patient and don't ruin this for everyone. Love, Emma. The arrogance was staggering. She truly believed she could steal my savings and expect patience instead of consequences. That's what years of indulgence had taught her, that rules never applied. And she could take anything she wanted and still get sympathy. I opened my laptop and began drafting a reply. Dear Emma, you're right, the money is spent, but before you get too comfortable, you might want to ask Jason about his monthly trips to Vegas and about Angela. Love, Sarah. I didn't send it, not yet, but I would, and soon. The week ahead moved like a storm. Wedding preparations accelerated to an absurd level. Emma spared no expense, floral arrangements, champagne towers, a live quartet, all of it, of course, funded with stolen money. The venue was a historic estate just outside the city, famous for hosting society events. The guest list included local influencers, minor politicians, and anyone with a recognizable last name. Then came the wedding invitation, cream-colored cardstock with gold embossing. The irony wasn't lost on me. I was being formally invited to the wedding I'd unwillingly funded. Are you going to RSVP? Mom asked over the phone. Hesitant. Emma really wants you there. Oh, I'll be there, I said. I wouldn't miss it for the world. Days before the wedding, I met Marcus again. He had more text messages, surveillance photos, and fresh documentation. Jason wasn't just cheating. He was legally married to someone else. He handed me a manila envelope, thick with records. Jason Reynolds is not who Emma thinks he is, Marcus said. I flipped through the contents. Marriage records from Las Vegas, hotel receipts, and dozens of texts with a woman named Angela. Are you sure you want to go through with this? Marcus asked. Once you take the next step, there's no going back. I thought about Emma's mocking smile in the bridal shop, the casual way she stole from me, the way she expected forgiveness just because she'd always gotten it before. I'm sure, I said, she needs to understand that choices have consequences. The morning of the wedding dawned picture perfect. Sunlight streamed through the windows. I put on the pale blue bridesmaid's dress Emma had chosen and styled my hair with careful precision. Everything had to look normal, until it wasn't. The Reynolds estate had been transformed into a dream. White roses lined the walkways. Chandeliers hung from the outdoor tent. Servers moved through the crowd with champagne and hors d'oeuvres. It was breathtaking, and every dollar of it came from my account. Sarah, Emma called as I walked into the bridal suite. She was glowing, surrounded by stylists and bridesmaids. I was worried you wouldn't show up. I smiled and looked into her eyes through the mirror. Never. For a split second, I saw it, the flicker of uncertainty. My email had clearly rattled her, even if she hadn't replied. But then she smiled again, her mask slipping back into place. Well, good, she said. Everything has to be perfect. Jason's entire family is here. And they already. She hesitated, then adjusted her veil. They have expectations. This wedding needs to go exactly as planned. I thought of the manila envelope in my car, and the series of timed messages I'd scheduled to send to Jason. Don't worry, Emma, I said softly. Everything will go exactly as it should. The ceremony was set for 4 p.m. At 2:30, while Emma posed for final photos with our parents, I sent the first text to Jason. I know about Angela. From across the garden, I watched him check his phone. His face turned pale, and he quickly looked around. trying to spot the sender. I was already walking away. At 3:15, during cocktail hour, Marcus delivered the envelope to Jason's suite. Inside were select photos, nothing too explosive. Just enough to let him know we had proof. Problems? I asked Emma later, catching her alone in the bridal suite. She was pacing, her dress rustling with every step. Jason's acting weird. He keeps checking his phone and disappearing. She said, You haven't said anything, right? I adjusted the flowers in my bouquet. About what? She froze. About the money. About Angela. Sarah, please don't do this. Not today. I promise I'll pay you back. Like you promised to repay Mom and Dad for the boutique? Or Mark for the startup loan? I stepped closer. You're not the only one who can dig up secrets. Emma. Her smile vanished. You wouldn't dare ruin this. The Reynolds family would destroy you. Maybe, I said, but they destroyed Jason first. And you right alongside him. Before she could answer, our mother walked in. Emma, honey, it's almost time. I gave Emma one last look and walked out. The countdown had begun. The sun shone brightly as the wedding day unfolded, warm, golden, and entirely deceptive. Everything looked perfect on the surface. I stepped out of my car in the pale blue bridesmaid's dress Emma had selected, clutching the bouquet with hands that didn't shake. My makeup was flawless. My smile was calm. Everything needed to appear normal, until it wasn't. The Reynolds estate had been transformed into a high society fairy tale. White roses adorned every archway. Crystal chandeliers hung from the tented garden. A string quartet played softly. Servers passed champagne on silver trays. It was breathtaking, expensive, and utterly fake, just like the relationship it was meant to celebrate. I stepped into the bridal suite. Emma stood at the center, radiant in her gown, surrounded by a crowd of bridesmaids, hairdressers, and makeup artists. Sarah, she called out, her voice falsely sweet. I was worried you wouldn't show. Can you imagine missing my big day? I smiled and met her gaze in the mirror. Never. Something flickered in her eyes. A trace of doubt. My email about Angela had landed. Though she never replied, I knew she'd read it. Still, she collected herself quickly and turned back to her reflection. Well, good, she said, adjusting her veil. Everything has to be perfect. Jason's family is already here. And they have expectations. Everything needs to go exactly as planned. Of course, I said smoothly. And it will. The ceremony was set for 4 p.m. at 2:30. While Emma posed with our parents, I sent the first text to Jason. I know about Angela. From across the garden, I watched his expression shift as he read the message. His face drained of color. And he glanced up, scanning the crowd. I was already moving on, keeping my distance. He wouldn't know it was me. Not yet. At 3:15, during the cocktail hour, Marcus delivered a sealed envelope to Jason's suite. Inside were selected photos, not all, but enough to shake him. Evidence of the truth, proof that someone had been watching. Just before 4 o'clock, I slipped back into the bridal suite. Emma was pacing, her dress swishing softly with each step. Jason's acting weird, she said, her voice tense. He keeps checking his phone. And he keeps disappearing. You haven't said anything to him, have you? I tilted my head, adjusting a flower in my bouquet. About what? About the money. Or Angela. I paused, letting the silence stretch. Then, softly, I said, Sarah, please, don't do this. Not today. I promise I'll pay you back. Like you promised to pay back Mom and Dad for the boutique? Or Mark for the money he lent you last year? I stepped closer, lowering my voice. You're not the only one who knows how to find secrets. Emma. Her expression hardened. You wouldn't dare ruin this. The Reynolds family would destroy you. Maybe, I said, cool and measured, but they destroyed Jason first. And by association, you. Before she could respond, our mother rushed in. Emma, sweetheart, it's time. I left the room, my heart calm and cold. The guests were seated. The music swelled. Jason stood at the altar, looking increasingly pale. The string quartet finished their final phrase. And the massive double doors opened. Emma entered on our father's arm, smiling like a princess, veil floating behind her. They made it halfway down the aisle when Jason stepped off the altar. I can't, he said loudly, his voice carrying above the music. I can't do this. Emma froze. Her smile faltered. What? She whispered, still smiling for the crowd. I know, Jason said, eyes locked on her. I know about Angela. About everything. Her confusion was immediate and genuine. What are you talking about? Who's Angela? And right on cue, a woman stood up from the crowd. She was tall, elegant, dressed in red. I am. A gasp rippled through the guests. The chaos began instantly. Angela wasn't just a mistress. She was Jason's wife. Their marriage in Las Vegas 3 months ago was very real and very legal. The Reynolds family's reaction was swift and furious. Jason's father had to be restrained as he lunged toward his son. Guests either fled in embarrassment or stayed, whispering eagerly as the drama unfolded. I stood still, watching everything unravel. Emma's face turned white, then red. Her expression twisted as she spotted me through the crowd. "You," she screamed, pointing with a trembling hand. "You did this." "No, Emma," I said calmly. "You did this. Every lie, every theft, every choice. This is yours." She lunged at me. All the elegance she had constructed fell away. "I'll kill you. You've ruined everything." Our father held her back, shocked and struggling. Her perfect dress was torn, her makeup smeared with tears and rage. Then Marcus appeared beside me. "Miss Mitchell," he said, calm and professional, "now may be a good time to discuss financial matters." Emma froze. "What financial matters?" "The theft of my savings," I said. "Unauthorized account access. Fraud. The police are very interested." "You wouldn't," she whispered. "I'm your sister. You stopped being that the day you stole my future." I nodded to Marcus. He opened his briefcase and pulled out everything: bank records, transfer receipts, screenshots. Our parents stared in silence as the truth sank in. "Oh, Emma," our mother whispered, "what have you done?" The dream wedding was over. The aftermath was swift and brutal. The Reynolds family, already humiliated by Jason's scandal, wanted nothing more to do with Emma or the wedding. They whisked Jason away to deal with the Angela situation privately. The marriage he'd kept secret was now public and legal, and their name was splashed across gossip sites by the next morning. Emma, once the star of her own fantasy, now faced a much darker reality. She was charged with theft and fraud. With all the evidence Marcus had provided, the police didn't need long to open a case. Our parents, finally forced to see her for who she was, refused to bail her out this time. The vendors, unpaid and furious, filed lawsuits to recover what they could. The florist, the caterer, the venue, they all came after Emma. What hadn't been covered with my stolen money had been promised on credit, based on the illusion that she was marrying into wealth. With the wedding cancelled and Jason gone, that illusion collapsed. A few days later, I visited her at our parents' house. She'd been forced to move back in, her reputation in shambles. Was it worth it? I asked, standing in the doorway of her old bedroom. Was one perfect day worth losing everything? She didn't answer, just stared out the window, her reflection hollow in the glass. Her perfect world had shattered. She was no longer the charming bride-to-be. She was just Emma, broke, exposed, and alone. Eventually, my money was returned, not all at once, of course, but through a court-ordered repayment plan. It would take Emma years to pay back what she stole. Every check that came in from her was a reminder, not of victory, but of justice. The wedding vendors claimed what they could. Her dress was sold. The decorations were auctioned off. Every pearl and rose petal she had once cherished became a line item in someone's invoice. Her dream wedding now lived in storage bins, court records, and bitter memories. I rebuilt my savings slowly, brick by brick, month by month. I tightened my budget, cut back where I had to, and started fresh. A year later, I sat in my new apartment, mine, fully paid for with money I had earned honestly. The space was smaller, but it was filled with peace. On the coffee table lay a new wedding invitation. Not Emma's, mine. My fiancé, unlike Jason, was honest, steady, and real. We met 6 months after the implosion. He was quiet, patient, and had no illusions about fairy tales. He loved me not for appearances or connections, but for who I actually was. Our wedding would be small, just close friends, a backyard ceremony, and a local bakery cake. No chandeliers, no designer gowns, just love, sincerity, and financial honesty. Emma wasn't invited. She was still living at home, still working through her legal consequences, still blaming me for the way things had turned out. She never understood. Not really. She didn't understand that she had burned her own life down, one selfish decision at a time. She never truly believed the rules applied to her until they did. And when the consequences arrived, she tried to pin them on me, as if I had created the mess instead of merely revealing it. But I had no guilt. I didn't destroy her. I exposed her. I told the truth, and the truth had weight. One afternoon, months after the dust settled, Marcus sent me a text. "Thought you'd want to know. Jason Reynolds just got divorced. From both wives." I smiled at the message. Karma had a long memory. Jason's family disowned him quietly. Angela filed for divorce shortly after the media caught wind of everything. His career prospects dried up. From what Marcus heard, he'd moved back in with an uncle in Nevada and was working in a casino far from the polished boardrooms he once dreamed of. As for Emma, she still hadn't apologized. Not really. She'd sent a short, court-mandated letter with her first repayment installment. It was robotic, written by a lawyer, not a single genuine word. But I didn't need her apology. I didn't need her understanding. I didn't need her redemption. I had mine. Planning my wedding, I thought often about how different it felt. There was no pressure to impress anyone. No need to posture. No need to pretend I was something I wasn't. We chose our vendors because we liked them, not because they were the most expensive. Our vows would be handwritten, not curated for optics. It wasn't a performance. It was a promise. And that promise was built on honesty. Emma had wanted the perfect wedding at any cost. But perfection isn't real when it's built on lies and theft. She had chased an image. And when it crumbled, it took everything with it. That was her path. Mine was different. Mine led to a life I had earned. A partner I trusted. A home I owned. A future I built. All of it, earned with every dollar. Every boundary. Every choice I made to protect myself. I never needed revenge. I just needed peace. And I found it.